If you lived through the summer of 1975, you definitely have shark phobia. And it's because of Jaws. The sound of crashing waves, the hum of beach radios, and that slow, creeping dread that maybe, just maybe, something was waiting beneath the surface. Here are 20 weird facts about Jaws. When it hit theaters, Jaws changed everything. It terrified audiences, created the modern summer blockbuster, and made millions afraid to dip a toe in the ocean again. But beneath the blood-chilling theme and the monster that haunted a generation lies a sea of secrets, near disasters, and wild moments even die-hard fans may not know. So grab your beach towel, keep your feet out of the water, and let's dive in. Number 1. The book was more than just 3 men and a shark. Before the movie, there was Peter Benchley's 1974 novel, a darker, more complicated story than Spielberg's streamlined version. In the book, Amity Island wasn't just under attack from a shark. It was drowning in human flaws, adultery, political corruption, and greed. Spielberg stripped away those subplots, focusing instead on the primal fear of the sea and the people forced to face it. The result was a cleaner, tighter narrative, and a much bigger hit. But the movie nearly sank before it began. Number 2. A 55-day shoot that became a 159-day nightmare. Jaws was supposed to be a quick 55-day shoot. Instead, it dragged on for a grueling 159 days. Bad weather, malfunctioning equipment, and an unpredictable ocean turned what should have been a fun summer project into a survival story of its own. The production ran over budget, and Spielberg, just 27 years old, feared his career might end before it even began. By the time filming finally wrapped, he was so traumatized he didn't even stick around for the final shot. Number 6. The iconic poster wasn't made for the film. The famous image, the swimmer above and the great white rising below, wasn't created for the movie. It was originally painted by artist Roger Castell for the cover of Peter Benchley's novel. Universal loved it so much they simply reused it, and it became one of the most recognizable posters in movie history. And the film's unforgettable opening scene? That was even more real than you might think. Number 7. The actress who played Chrissy Watkins wasn't an actress. Susan Backlinie, who played the doomed swimmer in the opening scene, wasn't a trained actress at all. She was a professional stuntwoman and diver, which is why her terror felt so authentic when the shark dragged her under. Her screams were genuine, too. Spielberg had her strapped to a harness that violently yanked her around in freezing water. That scene was raw, unpredictable, and unforgettable. And speaking of unforgettable, wait until you hear fact number 20. It involves Fidel Castro, Jaws, and a very unexpected political twist. But before we get there, the filmmakers had to find the right Brody. Number 8. Casting Chief Brody wasn't easy. Spielberg auditioned multiple stars before landing on Roy Scheider. Charlton Heston, Robert Duvall, and even Jon Voight were considered, but Scheider's quiet intensity won Spielberg over. He wasn't a typical Hollywood hero, which made him perfect for a small-town cop facing a nightmare beyond his control. But not everyone on set got along as well. Number 9. Robert Shaw and Richard Dreyfuss did not get along. Their characters, the grizzled hunter Quint and the young oceanographer Hooper, clashed on screen, and off-screen things weren't much better. Shaw often mocked Dreyfuss, calling him inexperienced and arrogant. That tension, however, gave their scenes an edge that couldn't have been scripted. And speaking of unscripted moments, number 10. The most famous scare was an afterthought. Remember when Hooper dives underwater and finds the severed head of Ben Gardner? That wasn't part of the original shoot. Spielberg added it later, thinking the movie needed one last big jolt. It worked. Audiences screamed so loudly that theaters sometimes had to pause the film to let people calm down. By the way, if you're loving these behind-the-scenes stories, Hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss more movie deep dives like this. Spielberg wasn't the only director to have a close call with the shark. Number 11. George Lucas got his head stuck in Bruce's mouth. During pre-production, George Lucas visited the Jaws workshop with fellow filmmaker John Milius. For fun, Lucas stuck his head inside the mechanical shark's mouth, and the controls jammed, trapping him. He escaped unharmed, but the crew joked that Bruce had tried to eat the Star Wars guy. And Lucas wasn't the only one to have a rough introduction to Amity Island. Number 12. Robert Shaw was shot at on Martha's Vineyard. When Shaw first arrived on the island, a local mistook him for a trespasser and fired a warning shot at his cabin. No one was hurt, but it was quite an awkward start. Fortunately, it didn't affect his legendary Indianapolis monologue. And that wasn't the only time improvisation worked its magic on set. Number 13. You're Gonna Need a Bigger Boat was improvised. Some of the most famous lines in Jaws weren't in the script. When Brody first sees the shark and says, "You're gonna need a bigger boat," that was Roy Scheider's spontaneous line. Spielberg loved it, and it became one of the most quoted lines in movie history. But ironically, for a film called Jaws, there wasn't much of the shark at all. Number 14. There weren't many Jaws in Jaws. Thanks to endless mechanical failures, the shark appears on screen for less than 4 minutes total. That limitation turned into a creative blessing. By not showing the monster, Spielberg let audiences imagine it, and what they imagined was far scarier. And when the shark finally did appear, one shot came from a very real catch. Number 15. The real shark came all the way from Florida. The dead shark hanging on the Amity dock wasn't a prop. It was a real tiger shark shipped from Florida. By the time it arrived, the carcass had started to rot, adding to the scene's gruesome realism. Meanwhile, the mechanical version had a name few people knew. Number 16. The mechanical shark was named after Spielberg's lawyer. The giant animatronic shark was nicknamed Bruce, after Spielberg's attorney, Bruce Raymer. There were actually 3 different Bruces, each built for specific shots. They constantly broke down, earning the crew's less flattering nickname, the Great White Turd. Still, one lucky accident from another artist gave Jaws its immortal image. Number 17. The poster image happened by chance. Artist Roger Castell painted the shark lunging upward without ever seeing the mechanical model. He simply imagined what pure terror would look like, and nailed it. That single piece of art became one of the most famous images in cinema, and it helped make Jaws a cultural phenomenon. Number 18. Jaws became Hollywood's biggest hit. When Jaws opened in June 1975, lines wrapped around theaters. Audiences screamed, laughed, and went back for repeat viewings. It quickly became the highest-grossing movie ever made, until Star Wars dethroned it 2 years later. The term summer blockbuster was born, but Spielberg later had second thoughts about the monster he unleashed. Number 19. Spielberg regretted the shark panic. After Jaws became a global sensation, shark populations declined as fear and sport hunting exploded. Years later, Spielberg admitted he regretted fueling that hysteria, saying, "I truly, and to this day, regret the decimation of sharks because of the book and the film." Yet the movie's impact reached far beyond fear, even into the world of politics. Number 20. Fidel Castro thought Jaws was a metaphor for capitalism. Cuban leader Fidel Castro saw Jaws as a political allegory. He believed the shark symbolized ruthless capitalism, devouring everything in its path, while the small-town citizens represented ordinary people trying to survive in a corrupt system. Whether you agree or not, Jaws still holds its bite. It's a movie about fear, courage, and the deep, dark unknown that lives inside us all. Decades later, its shadow still swims through every shark movie that followed. A reminder that sometimes, what we don't see is what terrifies us most. So if you ever hear those two notes, do, done, maybe run. And that's the show. 20 crazy facts about Jaws. Which one brought back the most memories? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more trips down movie memory lane.